My goal coming into J school was I wanted to be a high school journalism teacher and coach a high school basketball team, and that was my goal. And I met Professor Peterman, who was here at the time, and he was talking to me, and he said, you know, I would really encourage you to, rather than going the news editorial sequence, look at the advertising sequence. I think that could offer you some real potential. And I thought, well, you know, that sounds good to me. So I flipped over to the advertising sequence and had for one of my class projects in Professor Lindsay's class in publicity, I put together a proposal for an employee publication at the company that I worked for at the time, which was Piper Jaffray. And they liked the proposal so much, they said, why don't you do this full-time when you graduate? So I had a full-time job waiting for me, and it was as a result of a class project. When I arrived at Lawson, I thought, you know, this is crazy. I've been meaning to do this, so I wound up coming back to the university, took a 4-credit course in, it was the language requirement I needed, and it was Jewish and German memory and culture. And it was great. So I went every Tuesday for, I think, 16 weeks and got my degree in 2004 and attended the ceremony at Northrop, and I had my children and my grandson all watching in the audience. Stayed in the corporate sector at International Multifoods and First Bank, and then Control Data. And then from there decided to go out to the agency side with a very small 25-person agency. It was called Dorn Swenson Meyer at the time. And Dave Mona and I had been really good friends for, gosh, a number of years at that time already. And Dave had his agency. I had the one that I was working with, and Dave and I had breakfast, and we said, you know, we both want to be number one in this market. So why don't we put our firms together? And I think we were number 3, and Dave's firm was number 4 at the time. And we joined forces and became Mona Meyer McGrath, later Mona Meyer McGrath and Gavin, sold our business to Shandwick International, a London-based company. And I stayed with Shandwick, eventually became Chief Executive Officer with our headquarters in London, and grew the firm until we sold it in 2001. It was the spring of 2002. And I joined Lawson Software as Chief Marketing Officer, continued on with Lawson, and after they went through a significant merger, so I moved on, and then began at that point to do a lot of consulting for the university and just a couple of other clients. But I really felt a strong calling. I think it sounds a little bit crazy, but it was. Kathy Brown, who was Chief of Staff for President Brunings, gave me a call, and there was a void in university relations, and they needed somebody just to bridge the gap between the two. I took on that role on a consulting basis, so was working out of university relations. Had a chance to then in February meet Dr. Kaler when he first was coming on board. We had a couple of terrific conversations, and he asked if I would help him in his transition in, which I was glad to do. And then as part of that, we formed 2 inaugural committees. One we call the Advisory Committee, which is comprised of faculty and outside donors, community representatives. And then the Operations Committee, which is the committee that really has to get in and get the work done. So I was asked to chair the Operations Committee. What I will be doing going forward is I will be a senior counselor to the Office of President, and I'll be working closely with Amy Phoenix, the Chief of Staff, as well as Dr. Kaler and his team in in looking at strategic initiatives that are important to the university. With the spring celebration, I was contacted by Dave Mona, and again, he and I go way back, and have shared so many experiences together as business partners and friends, and over the years. And Dave contacted me and he said, "Would you be interested?" And I sort of paused and said, "Well, yeah." And it was a surprise. It really was, because I know how important the award is, and all you have to do is look at the people who have received it in years past, and it was very, very humbling. And the best thing for me was at the dinner to have my family, daughter, sister, nephews, grandson, and everything there to be a part of it. So that was great, and also just to see so many colleagues. And a real highlight was being introduced by Dave Mona, Dennis McGrath, and Sarah Gavin. And it probably had been, I have to say, 4 years since we were together the last time. So to be on the same stage with them was fantastic.